Hi guys, welcome to our brand new channel and our first ever discussion. I'm Michael, I'm here with Keisha,
Hey.
Holly and Linda.
Hi.
And today we are really just going to start off nice and easy and look at the question of, can we remember our first spiritual experience?
So I think my first spiritual experience I can think about was going to church with my mum. We went to a Seventh-day Adventist church. And I remember I was very small, I was inside the main service, but I remember I was just really bored. Children should not be in the main service, but yeah, that's what I can remember.
A little bit similar. As I grew up in the church, but I didn't stay in the service as a kid, so I'd go to like classes and stuff. So I think when I was like 7, maybe, because we got asked questions about the Bible. So I think from a young age, we started to develop kind of thoughts about what the Bible's trying to say and what I can get from it. So,
yeah, I think for me, my first spiritual experience, I mean, I remember going to church with my family when I was back in Nigeria. But then here, I think my kind of most pronounced experience is my dad kind of calling out at me on Sunday mornings. Probably I was about 8, 9 years old, and it was like, Linda, go to church, and you know, you have to get up and get dressed. And I think what I found most peculiar was that I would have to go to church on my own, and he wasn't even like taking me to church. He would just stay and sleep, and then, you know. But good thing is that the church was just around the corner, so that helped.
Wow, okay. So I think, well, it sounds very similar to my story as well. I mean, I grew up in a small village, and we used to have this old stone church. So even from like the very earliest age that I can remember, I remember every Sunday morning, we would, as a family, we would go to church. 9 a.m.
Wow.
9 a.m. to go to church. And there was a Church of England, and we would literally just go, and we'll be taken to our Sunday school classes, and then sort of like halfway through the service, we would all have to march in a line and march back into the service and sit at the front, and then we'll sort of like catch the end of the service like that. But yeah, that was my experience too. So let's dig a little deeper then. So as children, we all went to church.
Yeah.
Fine. I think it's fair to say though, as children, we didn't necessarily understand why we were going to church. So when did you first voluntarily go to church?
That's a good question. Voluntarily going to church was when I was 15, and I was attending a Seventh-day, no, not Seventh-day Adventist, sorry, it was a Baptist church, and I remember I wanted to go because I really enjoyed the Sunday school. And I was like, even though my mum didn't stop to go at the time, I really wanted to go and just explore deeper about God and faith. So,
Okay. So 15, Baptist church,
yeah.
own accord. Okay, great.
for me, I can recall kind of 2 times. Like one was because I had friends there and it was fun. We'd be running around and like I like the singing and stuff like that. But I think maybe around the same age, like 14, 13. Just kind of sometimes we'd sit in the service, so learning to listen and pay attention.
Yeah.
I just used to take notes and draw. That kind of helped. I don't know. Yeah, it stopped me from being like distracted or bored. But yeah, just listening to the message and kind of meditating on it, even though I didn't really understand everything that the preacher was saying. But yeah, I think just started having interest in it when I was 13, 14.
I think I was 18. So yeah, the church that I go to now, I think that would be when I actually volunteered to go. Every other time, I would say it was more something that my parents encouraged me to do, so I was doing more for them really. But actually, when I was invited to the church I go to now, I would say that was when I actually volunteered. Yeah.
Wow. So basically, I was a late developer then, because I was not. I was maybe because I spent so long as a child going that it was sort of like, okay, when I'm now old enough to make up my own mind,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go. Although interestingly, what I used to do was I used to stay at home and read the Bible.
Oh.
But of course, being the sensible guy that I was, when you read a book, you start at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So I started in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and by the time I sort of reached the end of the Old Testament, it was like, okay, I'm not reading any more of the Bible. And so it probably wasn't until I was 22, 23 that I actually decided that I would go to church on my own accord. And it was interesting because when I finally went, it was a case of, yeah, I've read the Bible, well, I've read the Old Testament. Couldn't remember half of it anyway, but it was just like, but yeah, it was. It was fun. Okay, help me recover. Where am I going?
Next question.
Next question.
Yeah. When I started coming to university in Leicester, best decision.
Centre of the university.
Yes. But yeah, when I came to university, I was like church hopping. So I was exploring different churches in Leicester because I still wanted to continue my faith built in London, coming to university.
Right.
So they had church fairs and stuff. So I just picked up. There was one church that had like gave you a coaster. So I was like, oh, let me.
Coaster.
Yeah, a free coaster.
Absolutely. There we go.
But yeah, that was the first church I remember going, and they had a minibus. The things I remember. I remember the free breakfast as well. But you know, it was a good time to really explore and try something different.
So new evangelistic tips there: coasters, minibuses,
Mini
and breakfasts.
Wow.
Okay, excellent.
Wow.
Okay. And you know, you guys. So you are still pretty much where you started from.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
But Keisha mentioned church hopping. Has that ever happened? Have you been out into the wider world of Christendom to see what else is out
We kind of. So I went to a Catholic primary school, and I also was in Brownies, and that was part of a Methodist church, and we do stuff with their church. I mean, no offense. I think maybe because the way the church I've been brought up in now is this church I still go to. We have classes, and it's just very different. Like the youth ministry or younger children would have different things, but in the Catholic church I'd sometimes go to the primary school if it was to like sing in a choir or just a school trip. I'd be very bored. Or if it was in Brownies, they'd kind of make it a bit more child friendly, so it wasn't so kind of boring. But I kind of appreciated my church, just seeing the difference in I guess the community. Like I felt more at home with the church I'd been going to, and just the way we kind of put the Bible into practice and things like that. So I felt like in the church, you'd go to church and then you go home and you won't see each other till the next Sunday. But in the church I grew up in, and that's I'm still a part of now, it's more of a connection throughout the week, or we do events, and we just more in each other's lives. And I saw a big difference. I mean, although I did find it kind of boring, I do appreciate just seeing the difference and like meeting new people and getting to sing in the choir and whatever. Yeah, I think I just prefer the church I grew up in, just seeing that difference. So
Any church hopping for you?
I didn't necessarily church hop. I think my mum took me to one church when I was about 15, and that was my first time in that kind of setup. And there's obviously certain things that they did in the church that was very different, was very new for me, that I found quite frightening. So that was quite interesting. I remember closing my eyes and like hearing lots of sounds and things like that, and then like peeping to see if my mum was doing what everyone else was doing and stuff. But it was a different environment, and it wasn't something that I was used to. But other than that, didn't really church hop. I think because my dad had kind of instilled in me to go for so long, when I was old enough, I just kind of stopped and was busy with work and stuff until I found my own feet. Yeah.
So I thought you'd been in there, no?
No, I was literally like gone. Skittish.
Okay, so given that we live in a world where we want to be more inclusive and we want to see other points of view, would you perceive a weakness in the fact that you have not really been to too many other churches, or would you call it a strength?
I wouldn't call it a weakness. I think I've been exposed to enough people who have gone to other churches to have an idea of what I think is biblical truth.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think I need to have gone and experienced these churches to know for myself. Well, I'm not too sure if that is in line with Scripture. So I think, I know as soon as I studied the Bible and saw that this was truth, and the life that I was being called to live was the truth,
Right.
that was sufficient for me. And I think just having engaged with lots of people from different backgrounds, different spiritual backgrounds, and then looking at it from the point of view of the Bible, I feel as though maybe it was better if I hadn't been exposed to those places. It might have made it harder for me to actually accept biblical truth.
Right.
Yeah. I was just going to be devil's advocate and say that just to go back to what you were saying, Michael, the relationships is only one aspect, of being part of a church group, so to speak. So if maybe the relationships are not working, is that a good enough reason to just say, well, let me just go elsewhere?
I definitely think it would be good to. I think one thing for me I found was my lack of knowledge of the Bible. So me not reading it helped me to see that I didn't know what was right because I wasn't reading my Bible. I was just going to church because I enjoyed going to church and I enjoyed listening to the sermon. But the more I read my Bible, I was like, whoa, I can put it into practice, And I think the fundamental element of Christianity that we need to always be sure on is, are churches preaching and teaching the ways to be saved, because that's what's most important, because when we die, we all want to go to heaven, so if we go to church. But I'm just I think just seeing that the other element of church hopping, to see that, okay, maybe it would be good to see our churches teaching biblical truth and salvation, ultimately.
Okay. So the $1 million question is, what is the biblical truth of salvation? We
Wow.
started.
Wow!
We started-
Mic drop!
How did
Mic drop!
How did we start this? We started this by
Wow.
what was our first spiritual experience, right? Okay, so now we've kind of very nicely skated around and done all the nice easy stuff.
Wow!
So now someone tell me how you go from being a non-believer to a believer, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Well, I think from what I'm learning, a lot of it has got to do with understanding of the scriptures, and there's so many different interpretations of the scriptures. I think that's what's getting really worrying. But it does fundamentally boil down to our understanding of the scriptures. Right. And I think another thing that I also strongly believe is that I've shared a similar experience to you. I remember as a non-Christian who was searching, I just thought, okay, I'll read the Bible. So I picked it up, started in Matthew because I thought, well, it's a book. Started in Matthew, started in Genesis actually. Yeah. Read, got to Genesis 38 and got really confused. Put it down, and then later on tried again, started in Matthew, picked it up, was really struggling with it, put it down again. And I think the conclusion that I came to is I need to be taught. I think that's something else, is that, the knowledge comes through actually it being passed on by people who know. I didn't actually know that much, so I needed people who knew. And that's something that I see in the scriptures. I might be wrong, but I see people teaching people. And that, I think that is a starting point.
Okay, so that's just been an introductory discussion, just to give you a feel of some of the things that we want to talk about and how it's all going to pan out. Do please subscribe. They really wanted to do that. Please subscribe and leave a comment so we know what questions you want us to tackle next time. Thank you very much for watching, guys.